Hello folks, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. Today I will be talking about psychic phenomena and the danger from the perspective of the Baha'i faith, or my understanding of it, of meddling with those kinds of psychic forces. Psychic phenomena have become rather popular, including channeling, remote viewing in particular, but also other things like psychokinesis and clairvoyance and telepathy. All of these things have been popularized, and many people have either tried to develop these abilities themselves or else tried to listen to the views of other people who use them and rely upon what they have to say. And I think that it's basically, it's just a very dangerous kind of thing from a Baha'i perspective, and I'll try to explain why I think that is. First, let me read a couple of passages on the subject of psychic phenomena. The first one is a statement by Abdu'l-Bahá. This was actually revised by Abdu'l-Bahá. It was a Pilgrim's Note originally, and it's cited in the book Baha'u'llah and the New Era. To tamper with psychic forces while in this world interferes with the condition of the soul in the world to come. These forces are real, but normally are not active on this plane. The child in the womb has its eyes, ears, hands, feet, etc., but they are not in activity. The whole purpose of life in the material world is the coming forth into the world of reality, where those forces will become active. They belong to that world. And now this second quotation is from a letter dated March 4th, 1946, written by Shoghi Effendi to an individual Baha'i, from the book Lights of Guidance. What Abdu'l-Bahá always pointed out in this matter is that these psychic powers were not to be used in this world, and that indeed it was dangerous to cultivate them here. They should be left dormant and not exploited, even when we do so with the sincere belief we are helping others. We do not understand their nature and have no way of being sure what is true and what is false in such matters. Basically, the problem as I see it with psychic phenomena and related activities that are generally classed under parapsychology is that people who engage in them really are involved in something that may potentially hurt their souls, or the ability of their souls to function properly in the next world. And I think one way of looking at that is by considering once again the concept of chalices of pure light. This was a concept that was developed by Baha'u'llah and is discussed in one of his tablets. So let me go ahead and I'll read to you this passage. By the righteousness of God, whoso openeth his lips in this day, and maketh mention of the name of his Lord, the hosts of divine inspiration shall descend upon him, from the heaven of my name, the all-knowing, the all-wise. On him shall also descend the concourse on high, each bearing aloft a chalice of pure light. Thus hath it been foreordained in the realm of God's revelation, by the behest of him who is the all-glorious, the most powerful. So, members of the concourse on high, or the supreme concourse, apparently have these chalices of pure light. The soul is not, according to this quotation, itself the chalice of pure light, to my understanding, but souls possess these chalices. And I think when people have seen ghosts and orbs, when people see living beings in this world with auras, that is precisely what they are seeing. They are seeing this psychic field that we all possess, and it's there. It's something that can be observed, perhaps through using something called Kirlian photography, which, although it is somewhat controversial, is believed by some people to be able to photograph the auras of individuals. We can actually see our own auras, perhaps. But in any event, we should not take that as an invitation to develop our own psychic fields in this world. That's not basically, why those psychic fields exist. To my understanding, the psychic field is a mechanism of communication as well as transportation, in effect, for souls in the next world. For example, I think that the psychic field enables souls in the Supreme Concourse to intercede for beings in this world. They become visible. They can interact with us to some extent, but it is not actually the soul that is doing that. It is that soul's psychic field. Similarly, in some cases, people have seen ghosts. The ghosts are not actually departed beings. Abdu'l-Baha said very clearly that there are no earthbound souls. So I think that what they are these psychic fields, or I guess in a purified sense, chalice is a pure light, which for whatever reason are still lingering behind in this world, perhaps with the soul not even being aware of it, so I think that once we understand that, and assuming that I'm correct on this issue, that psychic forces are not to be developed in this world, but that they are a way in which departed souls, or some departed souls, can communicate with souls in this world, and that they are also a way, perhaps, of something like transportation, where orbs have been seen moving from place to place. Ghosts, similarly, have been seen moving from place to place. So in that way, I think that the chalice of pure light provides people with a mechanism for doing that. I will give you now one illustration of why I think that using these psychic forces is basically not a good idea, and I will do that by referring to a practice which exists in a field called exopolitics. It is a branch of the so-called disclosure movement, a movement which is pressing certain governments to disclose whatever alleged information they supposedly have on extraterrestrials. Exopolitics, kind of a weird spin-off, is focused on ways in which we as human beings can actually establish political relationships with extraterrestrial beings. And the way in which many people in those movements practice exopolitics is by engaging in psychic phenomena. So I'll give you an illustration. This is from a quotation from James Gilliland, who is the director of something called the Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or ECETI. Fairly well-known individual in the disclosure and exopolitics movements, and he actually purchased a ranch which he claims is located in an area where there is a kind of extraterrestrial base, and people have taken photographs of that. But in addition, Gilliland and some other people who go along with his ideas, who visit his ranch, have been taught how to use psychic phenomena in order to contact these beings, these extraterrestrial beings. Here is Gilliland's own description. The process is what some refer to as the quickening. The veils between worlds are lifting, yet most are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually unprepared for this process. Come learn powerful tools, techniques, and experience initiations of the highest consciousness and energy. James will share his experiences with the appearance of spiritual masters and other off-world visitors. His near-death experience opened up what can only be referred to as interdimensional mind, which covers a wide range of subjects including near-death experience, life after death, the process, and where one goes according to consciousness, clearing unseen negative influences and more. In addition, Gilliland has claimed to channel various entities, including a being supposedly from the Pleiades star system named GLR Michael, and I may be mispronouncing that. The person's name is allegedly spelled M-I-C-H-A-L, so I'm guessing it's Michael. Here is a prediction which this alleged entity made through James Gilliland. It is now established and was decided as of Earth date Wednesday, July 25, 2012, by the Pleiadian High Council in alliance with 4 other galactic councils under Galactic Codex guidelines, that the Pleiadian family of light will now intervene fully into Gaia's ascension, Gaia referring to the Earth. Furthermore, it has been decided that we will make full contact with Earth beings in 8 days from this transmission on August 4th, 2012, at the World Olympic Games in London, England, for the entire world to see. Well, obviously that never happened. I read a statement by Gilliland where he acknowledged that, and he said that he is trying to figure out exactly why that happened. But Shoghi Effendi wrote that psychic phenomena is not dependable, and it's a real force. The faculties are real, but it is certainly not dependable, and I think that is a good illustration of it. Another individual by the name of Stephen Greer, who is actually a medical doctor, runs a couple of organizations. One is called the Disclosure Institute, and the other one is the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. What Stephen Greer and his followers have done is to cultivate certain cities. A city is a supernatural accomplishment or ability in various forms of Hindu Kundalini practices. Kundalini referring to a practice which is intended to elevate an alleged serpent type energy which exists at the root of the spine or the base of the spine, and gradually bringing it up to the top of the head, or what is commonly referred to as the 1,000-petaled lotus. And so here is what Greer says, or the way in which he explains that this process is done. He says you are invited to attend a special week with Dr. Stephen Greer and the senior CSETI, which is that Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence contact team, to make contact with ET civilizations. During this intensive training program, you will learn advanced training in mantra meditation and a very advanced course in the ancient Sanskrit Vedas, advanced techniques of remote viewing, precognition, and the science of consciousness. So there you see that one of the objectives that he has in engaging in this kind of contact is to practice a kind of remote viewing. In fact, what he recommends is that people attempt to visualize or view the extraterrestrial inhabitants of UFOs or spacecraft. And through that kind of imaginative exercise, he feels that it is possible for an individual to actually remote view, or I assume predict the future. Basically, that is an approach which is practiced by a variety of individuals. Those are simply two examples. Another one is Wilbur Allen, also involved in the disclosure and exopolitics movements. There is a photograph that I have, which is on my or in my book on unific evolution, which is at evolution.bahaifaith.info. That's evolution.b as in boy, AHAIFAITH.info. And in this image, you can see the words "show it to me," and what look like a few orbs or possibly a spacecraft in the distance. And Wilbur Allen describes that. He says it's an example of telepathic communication between human subject and ET object, all during my expedition of Area 51 and Sedona. I received telepathic commands from the objects in the sky. So that's essentially an example of the types of things that people have done. However, from a Baha'i perspective, not only are Baha'is encouraged to avoid psychic phenomena, we're encouraged to actually even avoid associating with certain individuals who have developed or practice various kinds of occultism. This is from a letter written on behalf of Shoghi Effendi, dated August 5th, 1939, and it is again from the book Lights of Guidance. Such occult practices as certain Hindus have introduced to the states, and which some superficial and superstitious individuals have adopted, and are trying by all sorts of devices to popularize, are absolutely foreign, nay, positively opposed to the very spirit and letter of the Baha'i teachings, and the believers, that is to say the Baha'is, therefore, should strictly and at all times avoid the company of such people, lest they may unconsciously and inevitably fall under their baneful influence, and become gradually alienated from the cause of God. The friends, that is the Baha'is, also should be warned not to indulge in such activities as draw their inspiration from Hindu occultist sources, as these do not only lead them away from the cause of God, but can cause them considerable mental harm and thus permanently injure their mind as well as their body. So, a pretty firm statement there. Really avoiding this type of esotericism. In fact, in another letter, again by Shoghi Effendi, written to an individual Baha'i from Lights of Guidance, Shoghi Effendi, through his secretary, said, with reference to psychic phenomena referred to in your letter, these in most cases are an indication of a deep psychological disturbance. The friends, the Baha'is, should avoid as much as possible giving undue consideration to such matters. So how does one engage in spiritual contact? Well, I think it is much different from what is generally understood by people, and I think that instead of practicing psychic phenomena, one draws close to souls, whether they are living or departed or prophets, not through remote viewing or telepathy or precognition or exopolitics, but one draws close to these souls through prayer and meditation. As one prays and communes with beings, I often pray to my guardian angel. I will pray to my spiritual mother, Elizabeth Thomas. I will pray to my parents. I will ask them for their intercession. I will pray to the Prophet Muhammad. And of course I'll pray to the Bab, Baha'u'llah, and Abdul-Baha. Shoghi Effendi said that as long as one recognizes the differences in stations between individuals, it really doesn't matter so much where one directs one's prayers. And I take that seriously. To me, prayer is a type of spiritual communion. In a way, I think it is the basic idea behind speaking in tongues. I asked the Universal House of Justice about the subject of speaking in tongues back when I was working on my doctoral dissertation on Pentecostalism, and I received a letter which was written on behalf of the House of Justice back in April 1st of 1984. This is an extract from a previously untranslated tablet by Abdul-Baha. Here is what Abdul-Baha said. The disciples of Christ taught his faith with the language of the kingdom. That language conformeth to all languages, for it consisteth of celestial meanings and divine mysteries. For the one who becometh conversant with that language, the realities and secrets of creation shall stand unveiled before him. Divine truths are common to all languages. The Holy Spirit, therefore, taught the disciples the language of the kingdom, and they were thus able to converse with the people of all nations. Whenever they spoke to those of other nations of the world, it was as if they conversed in their tongues. The well-known and outstanding languages of the world number about 1,000. It was necessary for the disciples to have written the Gospels in at least one of the languages of other nations. Thus, as it is known, the Gospels were written only in Hebrew, and not even the language of the Romans, which is Latin, although it was at that time the official language. As the disciples were not well versed in it, the Gospels were not written in that language. Of course, it is an aside, but it is intriguing that Abdul-Baha says that the Gospels were written in Hebrew. My guess is that he was perhaps referring to colloquial Hebrew or Aramaic. There are some people who have argued, such as the late George Lambza and others, that the original New Testament itself was actually written in Aramaic and then translated into Greek. The evidence they use is that there are some Aramaic or Hebrew idioms or figures of speech that can be found in the New Testament. Whether that is substantial evidence, I am not a New Testament scholar, so I really cannot say. In any event, my main point here is not to talk about the New Testament and speaking in tongues, or whether the New Testament was written in one language or another, but in psychic phenomena. And I think that rather than pursuing that particular line, it is much better, much safer, as well as much more productive to instead focus on prayer and meditation. That does not mean that one cannot draw close to souls. I feel extraordinarily close to souls in the world beyond through love and unity, by recognizing the unity of existence, and because of my love for these dear beings in the world beyond, but not by engaging in magical psychic practices. I think those are diversions. They're not reliable, they're misleading. They place gnosis or knowledge ahead of love, and overall I just don't think that it is a smart thing to practice psychic phenomena. Until next time, this is Dr. Mark A. Foster. Have a good one.